Trump egging on protesters to go to the New York courthouse where his hush money trial is taking place.
Outside for great Americans, people that want to come down and they want to protest at the court and they want to protest peacefully. We have more police presence here than anyone's ever seen. For blocks, you can't get near this courthouse.
Well, Trump also falsely claimed that, quote, thousands of his supporters were, quote, turned away from court today. The reality of it is this. The fact is his supporters are allowed outside the courthouse. Just the facts are so far in this trial, not many have showed up. Out front now, George Conway. He watched Trump's trial today from inside the courtroom. He's been inside many days so far. And he's joining me also to talk about his nearly $1 million donation to President Biden. He's about to headline a major fundraiser for the first time for the president tomorrow. And talking about this, here, George, publicly, on TV for the first time. I just want to start with where you spent your day and you spent other days.
Yeah,
and that's
there
in this
was
courtroom.
no cordon keeping people away from
No,
that courthouse.
well, not that I saw when I was there yesterday.
It's like, I think his problem is that people aren't, his supporters aren't willing to pay the subway fare to go down there.
All right, so you've been watching him closely for years, and now you're there. Feet away from him. You're in the criminal trial, so you're in the room. You're watching. Yeah. Every single thing said, his response, how it's handled. What moment struck you the most today?
It struck me, first of all, the two moments that struck me were one, when the judge basically challenged Trump's lawyer on the gag order and basically said, you're losing all credibility. And he was Todd Blanche was making these arguments that just were not even close to being anything that was in the zone of convincing or credible. Arguing essentially that retweets don't count, even though, Trump boasts that when he puts something on Truth Social, it amplifies it and everybody learns about it. Right. And then the fact that he actually modified what the Fox anchor said about juror number 2.
Oh, right.
And the fact that, it was just, the fact that he was arguing that retweets don't count, the fact that he was arguing that...
because he would retweet in quotes when someone says something pejorative about a witness.
And the other argument was that somehow there was an exception to the gag order if somebody made a political attack on him, even if it was a witness and this stuff. First of all, there's no exception for that in the gag order. You just can't attack witnesses. And the witnesses have the right to say whatever they want because they're witnesses. They're not the criminal defendant. And also, it was that the witnesses were, there wasn't anything he was actually responding to. The Blanche couldn't point to what it was that Trump was responding to.
Right,
and
said political motivated attacks and couldn't list one.
Right, and he couldn't list one. And at points Marchand was saying, okay, but the timing of what you're saying doesn't make any sense. And it just went downhill from there. And I almost felt bad for Todd Blanche, but that's what happens when you represent a guy who's just going out there. Oh, and my favorite moment there, and that part of it was, Blanche said, my client is trying very, very hard to comply with the order. And that just set you could just see the judge looking at Blanche like, oh, come on.
You got to be kidding me.
You got to be kidding me. He's looking for ways around it.
So we get that ruling any moment. It could come any moment. Yeah. And I know, it'll probably be a fine at this point, but obviously could end up with prison time if he keeps doing it. It's a serious thing.
Yeah, I think it should be a fine. But then I think there has to be a warning. Like, okay, I'm going to put you in for an hour or 2 hours. You keep doing this.
Well, and then it goes.
Yeah.
All right. So look, George, you're obviously a very well-known conservative lawyer, and you've made your career and your reputation on that, right, for decades. Okay. And then, you had a moment you became a Trump critic.
Yeah.
And you did so at great personal cost. This has had great cost in your family and your personal life. You have done it because you believe in it deeply. Right. And now you are giving Biden the maximum amount that somebody can give Joe Biden. $929,600 that you have earned over your life to a person running for president. So how in the world did you get there?
Yeah, no, that's just an amazing story to me. If you told me that I would do something like that and support a Democrat, and tomorrow night I'm going to be headlining a fundraiser in Washington, asking Democrats to give to a Democrat, I would have said, well, that's just pure fantasy. That would never happen. But the evolution was just watching how the Republican Party has become something that's completely unrecognizable. It's become a personality. It's become essentially, one of the things that sort of attracted people to the Republican Party in the 60s, 70s, and 80s was a feeling that the left had become anti-American. And right now, the people who are anti-American are the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world and the people in the House of Representatives who are basically voting and trying to block aid to American allies because they want to help Donald Trump create an issue for the campaign on border. It doesn't even make any sense. And it's just, I mean, this man, 4 years ago, I voted in my 10th presidential election. And I, for the first time, cast the vote for the Democrat. And
First time.
First time in 10, first time out of 10. And I did that because I felt that Donald Trump was a threat to the country, a threat to democracy. He doesn't care a whit about the country. He doesn't care a whit about the Constitution, about the rule of law. And he wants to undermine the country and its rule of law for his own political purposes. And that was before January 6th. That was before he actually tried.
But Georgia, what I'm also curious about, and I guess I put the emphasis on $929,600. Most people can't imagine giving $929 to a person running for office, right? It's just an ugly thing. They don't want to. So you're doing this, and you've been working your life as a lawyer. You've got children. You're choosing to do this, and I know it didn't come. I mean, there was a moment, right, where what happened? You're driving your car.
I'm driving my car, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to ask these people to give money. I hate asking people to give money. I don't even like asking people to give me money that they actually owe me, and I'm trying to think, well, I need to, I want to set an example. And I thought about what the law, I've only given once to a Democrat, but that was only for a lunch for somebody who was being honored, a law partner of mine. Yeah. And I gave $30,000 to the Trump Victory Fund in 2016. But, my wife was running the campaign, and it was a reasonable amount then. Okay. And I thought, well, why am I doing this? And I thought, it's like, this is for all the marbles. This man, I mean, after what we saw on January 6th, what we saw afterwards, and what we see him now saying, that he basically wants to turn the government into a vehicle for retribution against his political enemies. He wants to turn the country into a banana republic, which he tried to do 4 years ago. And I thought, there's nothing more important than this. And yeah, it's going to come out of my kids' inheritance, but the most important thing they can inherit is living in a constitutional democracy, and that was the moment where I said, I have to do everything I can. I'm going to give the maximum, and I'm not going to regret it. I mean, I'll regret not doing it.
And I know you're emotional now. Yeah. How did your children react?
Yeah, well, my oldest daughter said, well, why don't you write me a check for that amount? I said, you'll get something someday. You'll end up spending it in one place anyway.
But they understood. They understood that you did this.
Well, I don't know that the eldest one who I had the conversation with quite understood. But I hope someday she will.
All right. Well, George, thank you for sharing this.
Yeah.
And for talking about it. And I know you will be headlining that fundraiser tomorrow in Washington, which is obviously going to be a significant moment for you, and a hard one in some ways and an easy one in others.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.